Greetings, friend. I'll show you how Harold Nolte of Sudoku Primer solved this puzzle without any marks. It's Sudoku To Go Volume 148, Puzzle 88, rated diabolical. Click on the link below to see the original solving video. I've also included one pause video and one what-if moment to help you analyze alternate solve paths. And with that, it's solving time. So first thing that Harold notices is he's looking at the twos, and he can solve for 2 because he sees the 2's here in columns 5, 6. So he puts a 2 in row 3, column 4. Then he notices that the 2's make a pointing pair. So right here, there's no 2's. The 2's are limited to these 2 spots here in block 4. So that means they can't be in these 2 spots. You have the 2 coming across row 3 in column 1. So he marks that as a 2. In row 2, column 3. Then he switches attention to the 5's. You see there's a 5 coming up column 5 and row 2, so one place for a 5 here in block 2. Then he looks over and sees 5, 5, and the 5 coming up column 3, so the only place to put a 5 right there in block 1. Next thing he talks about is how he found a hidden pair. He calls them 3-8 twins. So what Harold does is takes these 3, comes across row 2. He calls this kind of the gate when you go through where there's 2 filled in cells. So the 3's are limited here. So that's a pointing pair of 3's, right? And there's an 8 coming up. There's an 8 and 3 here in column 4. And then there's a 3 and an 8 come across row 3. So where can 3 and 8 be here in block 5? They're going to be in these 2 spots. And so I'll highlight those 2 spots. Harold doesn't use any marks in his solve, but he kind of points out where you, the viewer, can find these. But I just want to show you, that's where the 3 and the 8 have to be. Something else I want to mention is I have a community tab now, and I'm going to on Mondays mention, do what I call it the Monday mention. I'm going to mention other websites, other channels that I like, that I find of interest. If it's a video I watch, plan for me to put a few things here about Harold Nolte's channel and website. I'm actually featured on his website, SudokuPrimer.com. Go check it out. He's got some really cool features on there and some links to his channel, and it's really great. Harold and I have been collaborating on a few videos here, and I really enjoy getting to know him and getting to work to kind of bring Sudoku out to more of you there. All right, so back to the solve. He makes and says, hey, this is a 3-8 pair here because he wants to figure out where can a 9 be now here in column 6. Well, the 9 can't be here because of this 9, and it can't be here because of this 9. And so what he's saying is, okay, you can be able to solve a 9 for right there because of this 3-8 twins, he calls them. He uses a little bit different nomenclature than I normally do. I'd call it a naked pair, he calls it twins. After solving this 9, he sees a 9 and a 9, columns 4 and 6. He sees a 9 coming across row 7, so he can solve that for a 9. And then he moves on to the 4's. I want to bring you to our first pause the video moment, because there's still some 9's you can solve here. So pause the video and see if you can solve for 2 more 9's while I give you a few seconds. And I'll give you a hint. You just use normal cross-hatching and you'll find them. Okay? Congratulations if you spot it. For those who just want to enjoy the show, if you notice this 9 on row 1, column 7 and 8, there's only one spot left for a 9 right here in block 3. So you can solve that for a 9. And with this 9, in row 2 and row 1, there's only one place left for a 9 here in block 1. You can solve that for a 9. You can't solve these 9's yet because there's 2 spots for a 9 here and here in blocks 4 and 7. But I just wanted to point that out. Congratulations if you did spot that. All right. Harold didn't solve those right away. Instead, he switched his attention to the 4's. And what he noticed was that you have this 4 cutting across right here. He calls it through the gate in row 5. You have this 4 coming down. So now the 4's are actually a pointing pair right here. So these can't be a 4. This can't be a 4. So he solves this for a 4 here in row 7, column 5. And from there, he switches over to the 8's. And he notices you have 2 8's here in columns 2 and 3. And 8 come across row 8. So he solves this 8 in row 9, column 1. Now he looks over and notices those 9's, so he comes back and says, oh yeah, sure, I see these 2 9's, and the 9 comes over to 1, this has to be a 9, and then he comes over and solves the 9 in row 3, column 3. You can see there's kind of 2 different paths to get to the same point. Those solves are kind of independent of each other, the 4s and 8s versus the 9s, but you could have done either one. Just wanted to point that out. From there, Harold focuses on the 6 coming up here in column 2, and he calls this a loner cell. He's like, the 6 can only be in one spot. It's by itself. It's a loner cell. So he solves that for 6 in row 1, column 1. From here, what Harold says is, now the puzzle gets really tough. And what he's implying is that you have to use not just one, but multiple advanced techniques to kind of move forward in this puzzle. And so he starts laying it out. I'm going to kind of use some coloring to kind of show what Harold's talking about. First, he says, I got twins right up here in block 1. So what are these two? They're 4 and a 7. And I'll color them, but I'll mark them down. Again, Harold didn't do any marks, but I want you to see what he's talking about. And he says there's 6 different things that I'm going to put together in order to make one solve. And so he starts with the 4-7 here. He says, hey, don't forget about this 3-8, the 3-8 twins. So I'll make that a little bit different color. So you have the 3-8 right there. Then he says, hey, look across column 6. Because of the 3-8, what's the 2 remaining cells here? Well, it's a 6 and a 7. So he says these are a 6 and a 7. Again, use your imagination, but I'll point it out for you. So you have the 6 and the 7 there. So you're restricting these cells to these bi-value candidates, and these are all like hidden pairs. So after showing these pair here, he goes, hey, look at row 7, what can this cell right here be? Well, it can't be a 1 or a 2, it can't be a 3 or a 4 or a 5, it can be a 6 or a 7, but it can't be an 8 or a 9. So this is also a naked pair of 6 and 7. So he solves that, and then he looks across row 4. And noticing all this stuff, he goes, look across these, and he finds and points out a naked triple. So right here, with the 4-7 coming down, what can this cell be? Well, it can be a 1, it can be a 2, but it can't be a 3. Now it can't be a 4 because of that. 5, 6, can't be a 7, 8, or 9. So 1, 2 there. And then he goes right here and he goes, this can be a 1, 2, can't be a 3, 4, 5, 6, can't be a 7, 8, or 9. And then right here, he points out this can be a 1, can't be a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. And he goes, oh, this is a 1, 2, 6 naked triple. And again, he didn't mark any of these spots in. I'm marking to kind of show you the 6 different layers that Harold was talking about here. And after that, it's like, that's a naked triple, which creates these as a 4-7 twin, which is, I call a naked pair. So let's put another color there. Yes, I can keep on adding these colors here, people. And after that, he comes across, and his point that he's trying to make is like 3 and a 4 right here, 3 and a 4 right here. Where can a 3 and a 4 be in column 9? Well, it can only be up here. So this is actually a hidden pair, 3 and 4, right? And again, because there's 3, 4 there, 3, 4 here, we know this is a 1, 6. And so I'll highlight that. I'm running out of colors here, people, so I'm going to have to do back to the orange again. Okay, and after doing all that, now Harold's saying, where can the 6 be now here in column 6? Because the 6 cannot be up here in block 3, and now because of this 6-7 pair, it cannot be right here, so it can't be in block 9. So it has to be in block 6, can't be in row 6 because of this 6. So he's saying, well, the 6 is right here, and that's called a claiming pair. When you have the 6 limited to a certain block in a row column, that's a claiming pair. So the 6 can be, he's saying that can't be a 6 anymore, right? Because the 6 has to be in one of these 2 spots in this block because it has to fulfill that column. And once you do that, Harold's like, okay, well, now you have a 1, 2 here and a 1, 2 here. This has to be a 6. And so Harold's like, I did 6 different steps to come up with the idea that that is a 6. And Harold has got a really great way of showing this. In fact, he did a tutorial, he did a collaboration on my channel where he runs through and solves a pretty hard puzzle without any marks. I'll put a link to that right here. I hope you do check it out. And I look forward to collaborating with Harold again in the future. But this is all great logic to keep in your head. If you're not seeing any of these marks, it's really, really cool logic to keep in your head. And you can push yourself. You can start solving these pencil Sudokus in the book without adding any marks. In fact, I kind of do that. I'll go through and I won't make any marks. It's a nice, clean Sudoku, and I can really push myself to start seeing some of these naked hidden pairs, some of these naked triples, things I wouldn't have picked up on without using marks. But this is going to bring us up to our first what-if moment. Harold went through all this to get this 6 right here. And so the what-if moment is, what if Harold hadn't done all 6 of these steps to find this 6? Is there another way to progress in this puzzle? And I'll show you that right now. Okay, I'm going to take away all the marks, all the colors. I'm going to leave the marks. And actually, I'll kind of step back here and take away some of these other marks. And just go back to the 4, 7, right here. Okay, remember he said, oh, I see this 4, 7 twins. Let's get rid of those. And let's get rid of that. And you're like, wow, Timberlake, you're getting rid of a lot. All right. With this, just these 4, 7, thing you need to look at is right here. You see this 1 coming across row 8? And this 1 coming down column 3? It makes a pointing pair of 1s right there. I'm going to mark them to kind of show you what I'm talking about. Pointing pair of 1s. Now you have this naked pair, 4, 7, pointing pair of 1s, puts a lot of pressure right here at this cell. And remember, Harold said this is a 1, 2, part of a 1, 2, 6 naked triple. But with the pointing 1s, this can't be a 1, right? So we know we have a point, the 1s have to be limited down here in block 7 in column 2. So that can't be a 1. It can be a 2, but it can't be a 3 because of this. It can't be a 4 because of the pointing pair, naked pair. Can't be a 5, can't be a 6, can't be a 7 because of the pair. It can't be an 8, can't be a 9. So you can actually solve that for a 2 right off the bat. And once you solve that for a 2, and you see this 2 here, you can solve here for a 2. And then with this 2 and this 2, you can solve for 2 right there. And now you're making a lot more progress in the puzzle. So Harold's way is accurate. It's logical. It's all good. But it might be difficult to see that you could have just solved this for 2 by using the pointing pair and then this naked pair up here. It reminds me of another analysis video I did where Mark Goodliff from Cracking the Cryptic, he had to solve a cell. He got stuck, and he had to solve a cell using a pointing pair like this to go along with 4 candidates in a cell. So I'll put a link to that right here. I hope you check it out. And that was like the only way to kind of get through that particular puzzle. All right, let's get back to the main solve. Okay, so we're back to the main solve. I removed all the candidates, removed all the cool coloring, and I added that 6 in, right? He solves a 6, and from there, Harold comes down, and then he notices the ghost. He calls them ghost 1. So he says, oh, there's a 1 coming across here, or 1 coming down column 3. The 1s are limited to these 2 spots here in block, in block 7. They're limited to those 2 spots, which is column 2. And so they call them a ghost 1s because you don't see them, but they're basically a pointing pair. And then he's able to solve. He says, well, since this can't be a 1, and that was part of the 1, 2, this has to be the 1. And so he calls that double row elimination. So that can't, there's a 1, 2, 1, 2. This can't be a 1, so that has to be your 1. And so then he's able to come over here and solve that for a 2. So you see, he does get to that point, but he's focused on the 6 first. But then he gets back to here where he solves that too. After that, Harold looks at the 1s and goes, okay, there's a 1 in row 3, column 8, because you can't have a 1 here or here. So he solves that for a 1. Then he looks and finds a 2 the 2 like I showed you in the what if moment right here in row 5. Column 8 moves his way up and notices, okay, there's going to be a 2 right there in row 1, column 7. Then he changes his focus to the 7s. He goes, oh, there's 7 here, and there's 1 7. He calls that a loner cell. You know, going to be 1 7 right there. The 7 is going to be in one spot here in block 6. Then he looks at 8, and he looks at 8 and says that you got a 5 and an 8 left over. 5's right there, so that has to be your 8. And then this has to be a 5. Okay, and Harold's making good progress with the puzzle. He uses these 2 1s here in column 7, 8. And remember, he had pointed out that this was a 3, 4 hidden pair. So, you know, like that can't be a 1. And so there's only 1 spot left for a 1. So he's able to solve that in row 7, column 9. After that, 1, 1. There's only 1 spot here for a 1 in block 7. Remember, this was the pointing pair. He solves this 1 here in row 7. So this row 9, column 2 for the other 1. Then he finds an 8, 8, 8, and the 8 coming up. And so he's able to solve this for an 8 in row 1. Column 8 takes an 8 and an 8 and 8 come across row 8 and solves an 8 here in row 7. Column 7. And after this, Harold uses some more advanced techniques here. He goes, hey, the 7 is now covering this 7, the spot right here, right? So that can't be a 7. And then this can't be a 7. So he can now solve that for a 7. And if you remember, this 7 was part of the 7, 6 naked pair that he found. So he could have solved this for a 6 right away, but he doesn't do that. Instead, he focuses on the 7s and goes, okay, I got a 7 here, 7 here. There's only 1 spot left for a 7 in block 8. So he solves that for a 7. Then he switches over to the 4s and goes up here and says, you know, what can be in these 2 spots? It can be 4 and a 7. I got a 7 right here. So that has to be your 4. And so then he can solve this 7 in row 4, column 1. And then he looks down and focuses on the 9s and says, okay, this could either have been a 7 or a 9. I would just solve that for a 7. So now that has to be a 9. So he marks that in row 8, column 1. And he looks here and you can see what's left. There's a 4 and a 1. He sees the 4 right there. So this has to be your 4 in row 7, column 1. And then he solves this for a 1 in row 5. Excuse me, that's row 6, column 1. And then a 1 in row 5, column 1. 9 and 9. He's able to solve for 9 here in row 5, column 2. And this is very normal, right? You're going, you get to the bulk of the puzzle. Now you just want to focus on the most restricted houses, which is a row, column, or a block. There's only 2 remaining here. So if you kind of focus on the block, which is easier on your eyes, and you see that there's a 9 here and 9 here, you can solve that for 9 right away. I'll put a link to my all 3 ways to solve a Sudoku puzzle right here, because something else to keep in mind. This is an easy way. You know, this puzzle at this point, it's easier to solve without using any marks. You don't really need it, but you could be putting Snyder notation marks in and solving puzzle. In certain situations, that is faster solving method. Most of the championship solvers use Snyder notation. Or you could have laid out all the candidates for this puzzle and started doing the eliminations. And then you eliminate a 9 here, knowing that a 9 would be left in this spot. So I'll put a link to that, to all 3 ways to solve the puzzle, because Harold's method is very distinct. He's the only one I know that just does no mark solving. I do some of those to kind of show you the method, but most other people use the Snyder notation, and some other folks, including myself, will also use that modern software approach. Okay, after solving this 9, there's only 1 spot left right here, so he's able to solve that for a 3, right? And after solving that 3, he then goes down and says, okay, this is a full house. There's only 1 cell remaining, so I can solve that for a 6 in row 9, column 3. And now you're switching over, and you see now there's only 2 spots remaining here. You're looking for a 5, and you're looking for a 3. He sees the 3 right there, so that has to be your 5. And then this has to be your 3. Switches over to the now to the 5s. It says, oh, 2 spots here, 5 and 6. The 5 is coming across row 7, so I can solve the 5 right there, and the 6 right here in row 7, column 6. After that, it now switches down and looks at where can, where are the 2 digits right here. 3 and a 4. I see a 4 right, or see a 3 right here, so that has to be your 4. And you remember that was part of that 3-4 hidden pair, so that's got to be your 3. He solves that in row 9, column 9. Then comes back up and says, yep, that was my hidden pair, so I'm going to solve that 4 and finish off column 9. And at this point, we're winding down. I want you to kind of follow along with me and try to guess if you can solve these cells in the same order that Harold solves them to the end. All right, starting with this 4. Let's see how well you do. So after this 4 in row 1, column 9, he solves a 6 in row 2, column 8. Then a 3 in row 3, column 7. And then a 6 in row 3, column 5. And then a 7 in row 1, column 2. After the 7, it's a 4 in row 2, column 2. After the 4, it's a 3 in row 1, column 5. A 7 in row 2, column 6. A 6 in row 8, column 7. Followed by a 5 in row 8, column 8. And then after that, it's a 1 in row 6, column 4. And an 8 in row 6, column 6. And Harold solves the last 3 kind of the way I would. I'd look in here and go, what are the 3 cells remaining? 3, 6, and 7. And then use my peripheral to kind of solve the end. And so the last 3, he does it in this order. The 6 in row 5, column 4. The 7 in row 5, column 5. And the 3 in row 5, column 6. If you want to see more solving and analysis videos like this, check out these other videos from my channel. Thank you, Harold, for collaborating with me in the past and the future. I love your channel, and I hope people check out Sudoku Primer and what you're doing over there. If you want to support Smart Hobbies by buying me a coffee, click on the link below. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching.